there has been a leak that has caused contamination of the water in Hawaii. The scale of it, the scale of the toxicity. If I read that correctly, David, you're telling me that what the military has leaked and infected and polluted the waters in Honolulu with, and correct me if I have any errors here, but I thought I saw it said that it's 350 times more toxic than the safest levels. Did I read that right, Dave?
Yep. 300. The level of petroleum in the water has been found to be 350 times the safe level. The fact that there's a safe level of petroleum in water is,
it's a questionable thing in the first place. Right. So take us to the top of this. Like, what happened? How did this get started? Because as we look at all this, this is just so many instances around the globe of climate disaster being exacerbated by our activities. Go for it.
Yeah, we'll roll D1. It gives like a basic rundown of what's being presented as the story. The only caveat I would say is that what's widely not being heard in the mainstream media is that this has been something that's been ongoing for years in terms of a worry by community and activists, and like they've been saying it's inevitable that something was going to happen. This is presented in the mainstream, at least, as we don't know what happened yet, and oh my gosh.
But we do know what happened. Yes. Let's take a listen to this clip as they break down the disaster that's ongoing in Honolulu.
Tonight, the safety of the water supply for hundreds of thousands of people on Oahu in question.
This is crossed off.
The water in my Hall's house is off limits.
And it smelled like I was pumping gas in my car.
Hall and at least 1,500 other families in Honolulu, many military, started seeing fuel in their water about 2 weeks ago.
A lot of us got sick at the same time. Headaches, nausea, stomach pain.
Even Mai's cats were vomiting. 17-year-old Jaden Benia rushed to the emergency room with a severe rash and swelling. And residents continue to report tainted, cloudy water.
But when you let it sit, this is what you get.
You can see that translucent sheen. According to the Navy, the fuel came from the Red Hill Fuel Facility, which was built during World War II and stores millions of gallons of fuel. And that leaky fuel facility sits only 100 feet over a major aquifer that supplies water to Honolulu.
We are on the precipice of a major disaster. We've already seen the disaster happening, and it's a foreshadow of something that could be even worse if action is not taken quickly.
I just spoke with the chief engineer of the water board here. He says without a doubt fuel is in that aquifer. It's just a matter of how much, and he's calling this situation a ticking time bomb. He says the Navy needs to get all that fuel out of the tanks immediately. The Navy says that it's testing, and in the meantime, it's offering water at points just like this to all the members of the military impacted.
So World War II era facility leaking. Here's the thing, 100 feet above the water supply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, and like you said, they have been warning about this. This is not new. How long have it been? Years they've been warning about this.
They've been worried that something was going to happen. I don't know that there's, from what I was seeing, I don't know that there's been actual issues, but there have been basic alarms raised, like this is going to be a problem. Why wait until it is a problem? And now it's a problem. And it's not only the military communities, although that seems to be who's been definitely hit. The concern is that it gets out into the wider community outside of the base area, because the base isn't necessarily just completely cut off from civilization. It's already kind of out there. It's just a matter of how big the problem is now and how big it's going to get. We have another clip, D2. This is an Oahu water protector speaking to the fact that they've been saying this for years, and it's been falling on deaf ears.
Let's take a listen in.
Hi, my name is Mikey, and I'm a member of the Oahu Water Protectors. We're all here today because the U.S. Navy poisoned our water with their decrepit, leaking Red Hill Fuel Facility, despite years of warnings from people who actually value life and all that sustains it. The U.S. military swatted dire concerns away like flies as the problem was allowed to fester. The people in charge have demonstrated with their staggering ineptitude and murderous inaction that they have no interest in listening to us and are incapable of grasping some of the most basic concepts required to live in harmony with the rest of the world. There are elementary school kids who have a better comprehension of the urgency of this issue than the top brass of the U.S. Navy. Like actual children, many of whom might be here today, know that it's a terrible idea to store up to 250 million gallons of toxic fuel sitting 100 feet above an aquifer that provides water to nearly 400,000 people on this island. We are so done trying to educate Navy officers and their co-conspirators on the nature of our plight, because they are clearly a lost cause. We will no longer try to gingerly walk them through all the gobsmackingly obvious reasons why they need to shut down Red Hill. No, we are no longer asking to shut down Red Hill. We are going to make them shut down Red Hill. And we're not going to take any BS excuses like, oh, our multi-trillion-dollar budgets, we can't afford it. Or it's logistically too difficult and dangerous, even though they never seem to have that issue with RIMPAC. And I don't even want to accept double lining, because, honestly, that doesn't even address the root of the problem. It's like double masking a COVID patient that needs to be intubated. There's a history of the U.S. military putting Band-Aids over bullet wounds.
David, who was that guy? I didn't catch his name. Did we have his name?
He introduced himself as Mikey on Twitter. It says Mikey Yoki. So I'm not sure if that's two names.
Here's a couple of things. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish that thought.
I was just saying, I'm not sure if it's Mikey Oki or Mikey Yoki together, because that's what his Twitter name is shown as. So I just want to show respect to him.
Yeah, no, we'll find out. What's fascinating to me is that is that there exists, and we need even more of something called water protectors, right? I'm thinking about the Keystone Pipeline. We've seen the water protectors. They have been, I think, what was it, Line 3? There are protests all over the country where indigenous populations, water protectors are doing and putting their lives and their bodies literally on the line to protect water supplies. How absurd. How absurd is it that we as human beings have to tell other human beings to not poison our water, and that we have to literally organize? We have to organize in order to push back. And actually, we have our guests cutting through our audio right now, but we have our system so twisted that we literally have to engage in the protection of the most fundamental thing that we need for survival, which is water. David, finish that thought you were getting to.
Well, what's most striking about that when you compare it to the pipelines is that the pipelines are, obviously they're subsidized. There's government deals, depending on which specific pipeline you're talking about. But those are private projects. They're largely, corporate owned projects. This is a government facility.
That's right.
It's a government facility. And at least according to the public details made available, and then this is from NPR, but in general, the mainstream has been pretty similar in their details. The water system serves 93,000 residents, but that's mostly just for the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickman water system. So mostly military. Again, the question is, where is it? Where does it stand in the wider community? Because there's the community at large is a huge. We're talking about an entire. It's not even just one island, and Hawaii's been through enough as a colonized territory. For it to now be treated like this, and they've been warned, and they're just ignoring it. Like, no, we're good. We tested every 6 months, which is what they said in a different clip, but they ignored the warnings.
Here's the thing that stood out to me about what the protester was just saying, and I want to encourage everyone to hear me when I say this. They know what they are doing. I have spent personally. And I know so many activists and organizers and protesters, we all collectively have spent millions of hours trying to educate these people on how they're destroying the world. They know they're destroying their world. So it is time for us to stop trying to convince people who are being paid to not know, or to not be convinced, or to be ignorant. And we need to begin organizing our own power in order to fight back against it, because these monsters know that they're destroying the planet, David. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.